Then let's fix the UK. Time has come to talk, and I'm done with the current status quo. We'll talk about what's annoying me about the current situation. We'll talk about what could be changed. We'll talk about what I believe in, and I'll just kind of lay it all out there for you. I won't be talking too in depth about the things that I mentioned today, because this is just an overview to talk about what this channel is going to really be about. But I will most likely do some more in-depth videos later on, including as much information as I can find about these subjects and topics and stuff. This is sometimes a bit more of a ranty type thing. Okay, out of the things that I care about the most, which are currently going the wrong way, number one has to be rights and censorship. So the Online Safety Act is a dystopian act. I don't like the way that this is going. The internet should be open and free, and a lot of people push back against this idea, saying that it should be supporting bad activities online, that people should be stopped from doing these things and all this kind of thing. I do obviously believe that being a pedophile is a bad thing. Yeah, there should not be these people out there. But censoring people's rights in a broad sweep doesn't actually fix that issue. It's not really about the children in this case as well, because, yeah, we'll talk about this another time, but the Online Safety Act is anything but really going to be helping the online safety of people. And we can talk about the other acts as well, like the IPA Act, which came out in 2016, or the Snoopers Trial, which was another act very similar to this, which has not really helped as many people as it's actually hindered. It's another act that is quite dystopian in taste. The rollout of facial recognition in public areas, although it sounds like a futuristic approach, it's also quite a dystopian one, where you could have a face that looked very similar to someone else's face and be caught short. Unfortunately for you, I mean, yeah, you get treated like a criminal just because you look like someone who is a criminal who may not be that criminal at that point. So, yeah, and then also making Palestine Action a terrorism group. In my books, a bit far-fetched. It's a terrorist organization, unless they have a lot of extra intel on things that they're planning to do which are potentially terrorist, which I don't know about. It's annoying. I don't think they should have gone and done that. I don't really want to talk too much about the Palestine situation either, because that's quite contentious. But in my opinion, not a terrorist organization. Some people who may have been unlawful in what they did. Yeah, there's probably more of those things that are annoying me about rights and censorship, but that's what I'll leave it as for now. Next up is non-democratic process happening at a grassroots level and also at an upper level. I'm not going to talk about my local Labour Party too much. They are all very nice people. I get along with them very well, and I'm sure some of them do feel the same as I am about to say now, but our MP had one imposed on us. This is not very democratic. We had someone that we wanted to put forwards, and a couple of different people that wanted to also go forwards for this role, and it was squashed. We were told, this is your MP, this is the person who's running for you, and that was it. No hustings or anything. We didn't even get to speak. We definitely did get to speak to her before the election, because she did go out and do door knocking and stuff like that. But the idea that she was just imposed on us, that is what annoyed a lot of people at the grassroots level. On top of that, she doesn't even live locally. She lives in a county next door to us, and although she owns 3 houses, none of them are within our boundary. Doesn't really sound to me like an MP who wants to do this further thing that has annoyed a lot of people. On top of that, Angela Rayner, she was a great MP. I really did like her as an MP, and as the second in command, she was a good person for the people. She's done wrong, and that's not great. I don't know if I can excuse what she's done. It's not really for me to say. I don't know if the Labour Party would excuse what she's done. There was no vote on that to force her to sit down or anything. But she did sit down, and the whole process around getting a new replacement for her employed has been a bit of a faff. Should never have been rushed through the way it has. Again, it would have been nice to be able to have our local MP consult us on this situation. Instead, they didn't say anything, and found out through a grapevine who they voted for, which is annoying, to say the least. It was never announced locally, and it doesn't really feel like it's our party anymore, which is why I'm going to be tending my resignation soon. It's annoying, and it is not great, in honesty. That's how I feel about this situation right now. It is what it is, and there's not really much out there in terms of opposition. In terms of viable options for an alternative, you do have your party and you have a couple of ones coming up, but I could never go reform because they are not what I stand for, and I could not go conservative because, again, they're not what I stand for, which I'll talk about a bit later on anyway. Another one, Peter Madison has links to Epstein, worrying that there's connections to Epstein even within our current government. He was potentially a blackmailer who would get photos of people with young girls, people who are under the age of legal lower age, so 18 in most places, 16 in others, and he would blackmail them into doing his bidding. Essentially, this did work out very well for him for a while, and it allowed him to get into a lot of different circles. But Israel issue, did he work for Israel? Who was he working for? Essentially, thought this doesn't sound right, it doesn't really add up. And it turns out, when I start to think that way, sometimes it actually does work out true. The fact that Peter Mandelson was good friends with him during his most prominent period of time, worry, and the fact that he is also now the ambassador of the US, he's keeping in close ties with Trump and other people in America who are loosely and historically linked with Epstein. Bad place to be in there doing something. There's failure to take back the water companies. The water companies, there has been a little bit of movement on this, not much, but the water companies, they need to change. Essentially, now, I like the idea of nationally owned water companies. Water companies are the living source of our people, and they should be nationalized, really, because there's no alternative that's very expensive nowadays, that hasn't been upheld very well, and that is costing taxpayers now money in order to update it, even though they've made record profits off of it for over a long period of time. Doesn't really sit well with me. They've maximized profit, minimized cost. They've run out of places to minimize costs now, so what they're doing is destroying the infrastructure, and they're going to have to be bought back out at our expense. What we should really be doing is forcing them to sell. If we make it so that if they keep messing up, they have to pay extortionate fines, which then means that their company will become sustainable, or we can force them to become part of the standard network. And these are all viable ways in order to rid them of the bugs that they currently have. And I believe they do have this in Wales potentially, but I would actually prefer for it to be under the government's control. In this sense, the government is probably better than a private company, or even a government-run private company. With the electric and gas, now electric and gas companies shouldn't be allowed to charge extortionate rates to people, especially cheap. Electric can be if you're using solar, if you're using wind. Solar and wind, both being the cheapest form of electric that you can get. Factually, next up is the rolling back of green policy. Green policy has been a huge thing. The idea of going to solar, the idea of going to electric cars, the idea of minimizing the damage that we do to the planet is an incredible thing, and it's something that we really need to do as soon as possible. I'm not saying that we should be helping any of these gas and oil companies, because they're not helping. They're using their money and their profits to push back and to minimize the issues and to fund something called carbon capture. Now, to me, carbon capture is a scam because it's mainly owned by gas and electric companies. And because of that, they can fudge numbers a bit, and they can still get large government payouts. They can still make a lot of money, even though they're polluting. And they can say, we're trying to make carbon capture. So it's all a big scam to me. It's not just another bailout for the government to keep them sweet, so they don't pool resources before we stop needing oil for our cars. I don't think that's a very good solution. I think that we should really be introducing a scrappage scheme like we used to have for old cars so that people can get their new cars. Pushing back the 28 billion pledge, which is one thing that they were saying on their manifesto, was they were going to put into the green ideals and stuff. The mass home installation program was shrunk from, I think, 15 million to 5 million, which is still, it's okay. It could be better and it could go further. This video, as I said, is more of a list of what I care about and what I want to do better and how we can make things better. But I thought I'd start by just mentioning that stuff. Now, I'm going to mention a few other things I care about, and that is respect, integrity, freedom, and representation. When it comes to ideas that should be democratic, they should be democratic. It shouldn't be one person chooses who is the local leader for you. You should have a vote on that idea. That is how things work. That is how things improve. And that is how you get what people want. The immigration issue. But respect is important. You need to respect people from all different cultures, all different walks of life, all different ages as well, and all different belief systems or religion, all that kind of stuff. Integrity, you need to be true to what you say. And freedom. You should be able to make choices and decisions without fear of persecution. And this also works along the respect line of, if you're gay, you should be allowed to be gay, and people should respect your ability to be what you want to be. Even if you don't understand it, you should respect other people's ideals. Very important thing that people seem to be losing out on. I would describe myself as an old school liberal. This is how I would believe in things. If you're on board, join the channel. Let's fix the UK together. Bye-bye.